All right. Reflections part the second. So this one's going to be a quicker video. I want to see if we can create some rules, which I've already actually done for you. Some rules, so things that will always happen when we do a reflection across two specific lines. Now, I can reflect a point across any line, which I'll do in a second. But first, I want to create some rules for x and y-axis reflections. The first one I want to do is an x-axis reflection. So here on the board, remember we started with good old point R, which I had labeled as what? G, good, which was incorrect. And this is at 3, 2. Now the x-axis reflection we did in the previous video was r prime is 3, -2. So I reflected it here, right, like that. Now let's create a rule. Take a look at the old point and take a look at the new point. And what do you see? Well, first of all, you see a different number, but the x value is the same, right? I still had to go over 3 units. The only difference here is that I made that 2 a negative. So the rule is going to be, very simply, whatever the xy coordinate pair was for this, so for instance it was 3, 2, it's going to become, and that arrow means becomes, right, the same x value, but I'm going to put a negative sign in front of that too. Okay, and let's see if that rule is the same for everything. So let's go ahead over, I don't know, here. Here's a good point. Let's label that G. Okay, no, not funny. And let's label the point. So it's -1, -2, -3. So I know it's going to be a -3. And it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is going to be -3, 7. I want to reflect it across the x-axis to prove, or to see if this rule is going to be true. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units away from the axis. So that means I have to go down 7 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, here's my new point, and this is going to be G prime. But what is the point? So I still have to go over 3 units to the left. So it's still going to be a -3. But I had to go down 7 units from this instead of up. So let's see if it's true. I had a -3 and I had a 7. And it became -3 still. Oops, I'm putting it on the wrong thing. I'm not going to do the video again because I don't want to. So back up here. This is for y-axis, don't worry about it. So this is x, y. And that's going to become, right, so a -3 because that was a -3. And look, I made it a -y, and it is a -y. I just changed and put the negative sign in front. So it is going to be -3, 7. Okay? So truth for x-axis reflections. Sorry about that. Now, let's go ahead and try a y-axis reflection, right? So the other axis here. So the up and down one. This is y. Okay. Still use the same point. So if I wanted to make it a y-axis reflection, the point's going to be here. We've already done this. R prime is going to be a -3, 2. Now let's take a look and see what happened here. What changed? Well, the y values are the same still, because I still had to go the same 2 units up from the axis. But here I've got a -3 instead of a +3. So we can create a rule, and that rule is going to be x, y is going to turn into a -x, but the y stays the same. Okay, so now let's choose another point and let's prove it to be true. I don't know, let's make an easy one. Okay, so this is, let's call it G again. 1 over and 1, 2, 3 down. So down is negative, right? So this is going to be 1, it's a huge negative sign. Sorry. 1, -3. I want a y-axis reflection, so if it's 1 unit away from the axis to the right, I've got to make it 1 unit over to the left. So this is going to be a new point called G prime. Now it's not a 1 anymore because I didn't go 1 over to the right. I'm going 1 over to the left, but the y value is going to stay the same. So here, it's true again. All I did to change this was put a negative in front of the 1, right, the x-axis value, and the y value stayed exactly the same. So we've made some rules, we've proved it to be true. Quickly, now that's only y and x-axis reflections. There are infinite amounts of reflections that we can do. For instance, let's say I wanted to reflect the point R, right, which is still 3, 2. What if I wanted to reflect it across the line y equals 1? Now this is the line y equals 1, and we'll talk more about how I create these lines in a second. How far it is away from that line? Well, it's 1 unit up, right? So that means it has to be 1 unit down. So what's the new point? Well, it's still 3, but in this case it's 0. Now the rules, we can't really create a rule for this all the time, but for now we can just say draw the line, and then reflect it and see how it works. So here it would be r prime is 3 comma 0. Now we'll talk, like I said, more about how to create those lines, but you get the idea. Now I can make a line anywhere on this graph. Any one of these lines I can create as a line, and we'll work it through. All right, adios.